Welcome, everyone. Again, if you want to sit, there are plenty of seats, but if you want to stand, just stand where you can hear, I reckon. My name is Matt Stevens. I'm the Director of Strategic Impact. Been tracking with this program for years. This is one of my favorite days of the year. What I used to say at this event is this is when the work begins, but that is absolutely not true this year. There has been a year's worth of runway in terms of preparation for what today holds and what you're about to learn about. As you will hear, if you are familiar with Get Comfortable, and I hope that you are, a lot of it is still the same, but we have made quite a number of enhancements that we're going to really try to take you through tonight so that you walk away saying, this is why you should buy the beer, this is why you should support great companies, this is why you should care about what we're chasing after for the next few years. And so where we are really headed tonight is, if this works, the beer. We're going to talk about the beer first, and then we're going to talk about the program. Before we jump into the beer, is Walker in the house? So this year, spoiler alert, one of our partner this year, our collaborator, is Bell's Brewing from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Please give a round of applause for heroes of ours. We love Bell's around here. And this is Walker Motive, who's been tracking with them for years and years. I wanted to give him a couple minutes just to say a few things. Walker, come on up to the stage, man, and watch where you step.
I just asked for a couple minutes of time to say thank you. Thank you to Creature Comforts, both for the work that they're doing here, for really a novel and inspirational approach to how they elect to do that work. I first learned about this program about 4 years ago, and it has been one of my great disappointments that we weren't asked to collaborate on this till now. Waiting and waiting to be noticed, and God. And it's a really interesting time for us at Bell's for this collaboration to happen, because as part of our new relationship with New Belgium, we suddenly find ourselves having $1 for every barrel of beer sold to invest in philanthropic giving. So we woke up in the new year with slightly over $450,000 to find a good home for. And I could not be prouder to tell you that the first donation we will make out of that fund will be to Get Comfortable to the tune of $25K.
What?
And
It's unbelievable. I'm the one that gets to react to this. Holy crap. Yeah. That's unbelievably gracious of you all. I have so much respect for you. And I don't know, I'm excited for y'all's future to be able to put that money, to do good things in your own community. It means a whole heck of a lot that you care enough about ours. So thank you, like from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you.
It's truly our pleasure to be working on this with you. Really, it's great. Thank you for the time. I will turn it over to the MC. But yeah, really appreciate getting to be part of the work you're doing here. It's special, really special.
I'll hug you later. I'll hug you later. I'll hug you later. To get to us, Walker will hug you later. Well, sincerely, the love goes both ways. If you ask me, the highest honor that we can bestow to our industry's partners is this collaboration, because we do a lot of fantastic collaborations throughout the year to not only release new products, but to explore new ideas as breweries. But the Get Comfortable collaboration in particular, when we launched this as a collaboration beer 4 years ago, it was really with the additional layer of we should not only lock arms with this beer with breweries that we respect, but with companies that we have looked up to for years, and since we were even a company ourselves. And so Bell's a lot of love, and we're so excited to have some conversation tonight. I'm just going to go ahead and bring John Mallett to the stage. If maybe I'm standing in your spot, let me introduce John Mallett before he takes the stage. So to my right, your left, is representing Creature to talk about the beer, Adam Beecham, one of our co-founders, longtime brewmaster here, currently our chief operating officer, and he will be conversing with really a counterpart of his at Bell's Brewing, John Mallett, who, if you don't know, you should know. A quick Google search will give you more than enough information about the legacy that this man has left in this industry. So without further ado, let me just invite John Mallett to the stage. John.
Well, thank you very much. All right, whatever. Yeah, sounds great. Don't move the beer too far away from out of my way.
Settle in, man. Yeah. We're talk about the beer, I suppose. Is that
Yeah, I guess that's what we're supposed to do. Yeah.
very good?
Yeah. All right.
All
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair. What do you want?
Yeah, so I mean, we love doing collaboration brews and choosing those partners well. And when the opportunity presented itself, both the intent of the collaboration, the ethos of kind of how beers are made here, those really lined up. And so it was a pretty easy yes for us to do this. You sort of think about what's interesting out there. And I mean, broadly, this beer is a cold IPA. So what the heck is a cold IPA? Aren't all beers cold?
Yeah. Yeah. The good ones are. Yeah. Thanks for the setup. Yeah. As a part of this program, it wasn't always this way, but we added collaborators, probably year 3, as a way to bring excitement into it. Formerly, we linked 100% of the donation to how much of the beer sold. And so we wanted to make the most exciting product possible that would really engage people, not just for, drinking a beer and doing good, which is pretty amazing. All you have to do good is drink a beer. So it's a pretty low bar, but to also really engage them with like a very compelling brewery that people are fans of. And so IPA has always been the style. To back it up a little bit as well, because that's what our consumers generally gravitate towards. And so that's always been the framework. We find a brewery that excites our consumer base here in Georgia, because where the beer is sold, but also to be able to highlight breweries that we believe are good citizens in their own communities and given back in ways that we can be able to highlight as a part of the storytelling that goes along with it. So we've been tracking with Bell's for quite a long time. John gave me a tour of their facility back in 2015, probably, when they had an event. And I was just completely flabbergasted at the level of detail and just science. Like, I'm a science background person, and just the application of logic and, and a really beautiful system that makes a beautiful product. I'm fully inspired, and realizing the level that Bell's gives back to our brewing community was like an unbelievably just inspiring, compelling thing to see. You can think of community in a lot of different senses, I think. And when I think about what you have done personally in Bell's as a brewery to enhance the conversation around beer, to press knowledge forward, it's, I don't know, just incredibly impressive. And so wanted to be able to highlight Bell's and the work that you all have done over the many years, making beautiful beer and giving back. So we set out to make an IPA, and there's a really cool new style, cold IPA. It's new, it's different. It comes from a brewery called Wayfinder in Portland, Oregon, and Stan Hieronymus is here, so I'm gonna get my history wrong, I'm sure. But so initially a collaboration that they did, and it is sort of like a thinking person's Brut IPA, if you're geeky about beer etymology. And so Brut IPA was this hyper dry, champagne-like IPA style that sort of had its moment in the sun, and I would say probably is behind us now at this point in American craft beer history. They're kind of a little in the word thing. Okay, standard proof, great. It's a little too dry. There's not much to hang on to. And the novelty of cold IPA is that they are able to accomplish the very dry finish of the cold IPA using rice, which is traditionally frowned upon by American craft brewers. And in fact, even the Brewers Association at periods of time didn't appreciate the use of rice for craft beer. It was a little bit of an obstacle to get Bell's to wrap their heads around using a large percentage of rice in a beer, because there are a lot of, traditionally seen as a cheap adjunct, but like anything, it can be a tool to make something beautiful. And we used a beautiful rice product to make this beer. It's called Carolina Gold. It's an heirloom variety of rice that came over from Madagascar long ago in the South. Is the best rice in the world, decidedly, from Madagascar by way of the Charleston area. Rediscovered in recent times. This is not a cheap product. I think we've ended up paying like $4 a pound for it, which is a lot of money for something that is going to be fermented by yeast and turned into booze. But
It's a beautiful, beautiful product. It gets really fluffy when you brew with it, sucks up all kinds of water, and that's what it's known for culinarily. It's got a really unique starch structure that gives body to sauces and things like that. But we use that, and the intention of that is to add some lightness to the body of the beer. And the other novel piece of the style is that it uses lager yeast to make an IPA, which is a little controversial because the IPA, the A in IPA stands for ale, and lager is inherently not ale. And so it's a shortcut name, and people understand what it is. You know, you're like, it's a cold IPA. You're like, oh, I kind of get that. That's amazing. And what that does, I think, for me, is allow a really clear expression of hops that are unmuddied by yeast character in the same way that ale yeast adds a lot of fruity components depending on what yeast you use. It kind of lets you get a really complete hop flavor in somewhat of the way that you experience smelling a bag of hops that are delicious and delightful. So I am tremendously excited about the style. I think people are returning to bitter beers after a short hiatus of drinking, super fruity juice bombs. Bitterness is, the reason that beer is good, because without it, it's only sweet, and nobody wants just things that are sweet over and over and over again, right? So excited about return to bitterness. I think that the style has a ton of legs. We are really excited about it. We're unbelievably excited to work with Bell's on it. Andy, who does recipes for Bell's, had already been sort of playing around with the style a little bit. So you're starting to hear murmurs, like brewers are like, "Oh, this is really good. Like, we should try to make one." And he had already done a few, I believe, for Tap Room, and now Bell's does have a full version, like a full scale production version, right? So we're like, well, we've never done it. We should lean on y'all's expertise a little bit.
I'll tell you, this style, the style that sort of like comes off of something also known as like India Pale Lager, IPL. And, here's, working for Bell's is pretty interesting. Larry Bell is an incredibly creative force. And I'll tell you that there was a point, this is like 12 years ago, when Larry came to me and said, "Hey, I want to make this beer." And what that means is, I want you to make this beer. And he had this vision of this lager beer with really distinctive, crisp, pale color, very distinct lager or a hop character. And specifically, he had this dream where he was up hiking in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan's beautiful but underpopulated Upper Peninsula. And he came out to this, he was hiking along a stream, and he came out to this waterfall. And the waterfall is just cascading over the rocks, and there are these pine trees all around. And this is what the beer should taste like: the crisp, cold water and the pine trees. And can you please make this beer? And I'm like, did they mention what kind of hops in the dream? So sort of a style that we played with in the past, slightly different, but then circling back into this cold IPA. We've recently done one as well, and I would be really remiss to, like you mentioned Andy Farrell, and Andy Farrell really drives a lot of this stuff. We at Bell's are a really creative bunch. We're a very positive bunch. Andy and Carrie were going to come down with us, and they are so positive. I mean, they were even positive at the COVID testing lab. Let's just say, all right. So by all rights, Andy Farrell should be sitting up here right now instead of me. Yeah, but the poor proxy. So
but I don't know. The beer's great. I really like it. It was a true joy to be able to produce, and I think doing collaborations this way, where we get to hang out for a few days and just like kind of kick it, is pretty phenomenal, and I'll remember this forever. So. Thank you. And thank you all for enjoying it and drinking it. Cheers. All right. Take it away, Al.
We were almost going to bring you another. Oh, perfect. Let's situate it up here. Y'all, all I can say is, every year when they bring to our attention who the next Get Comfortable collaborator is going to be, I'm like, it can't get better than Allagash. It can't get better than Sierra Nevada. And now we're partnering with Bell's. I am always so impressed. You guys have such a culture of diversity and sustainability and giving to your community. And it makes for such a natural fit to partner with you on this year's Get Comfortable Cold IPA, which I now know a little bit more about. So thank you both for that. So Adam and John really just spoke into this year's Get Comfortable Cold IPA, and I wanted to really speak into this year's program. And I will keep it brief, and I also know that this screen is very small because our larger projector screen tends to take flight in wind, and we really didn't want to chance that today. Oh, I missed all the pretty photos, but there you guys go. There's the can. 4-packs are available in the tap room. Perfect. So let's jump into the Get Comfortable program that will really start this year in 2022 and will continue on until 2027, but more on that to come. So I will say every year, and one of our core values here at Creature Comforts is the idea that we always want to make it better. And when you look at a program like Get Comfortable, and those of you who have been around for many years, and you look at a program like Get Comfortable and you're like, this program has always been so data-driven. This program has always been so rigorous. How can we go about making it better? And that was what we really tasked ourselves with doing back in 2021. We said, what would it look like, for example, to spend a very prolonged time on a very specific impact area? In the past, we had been partnering with a lot of different nonprofits who were working on needs all across Athens, still doing amazing work. But we were like, what would it look like to really lock arms with a handful of folks for many years and to really bring watch the needle move, for example, if you will. And an operating system, and I know you're like, oh, I'm here to drink beer and she's telling me about an operating system, but an operating system that we've used here successfully at Creature Comforts is called the 4 disciplines of execution. And yes, it does sound very business and jargony, but that is the level of operating system. That is the level of strategy that we've seen amazing results using here at Creature Comforts. And we said, what would it look like for us to apply that same level of thinking with how we are doing our own community impact work? And thus, this year's program, which I'm really excited to unpack with you all today. So here, and I know it's very small, this is kind of all the prep work. This is what myself, Matt Fenwick, a lot of different focus groups, a lot of different advisors, a lot of different selection committee members have been working on for the past several months. And what I will say is you're probably asking yourself, okay, Allie, how on earth did you determine the next impact area for Get Comfortable? You know, who poured into that decision? And that's kind of where we all start with our advisory council. So if you've been tracking with Get Comfortable, you have heard us talk about our advisory council. And this is a group of social service professionals who have really dedicated their lives to the Athens community in terms of knowing the data and understanding the data and just working within this sector. And we are very thrilled to have some of these folks. And I know they're microscopic on the screen, but we have Dr. Grace Bagwell Adams, who leads up the Athens Wellbeing Project. We have Blaine Williams, who's the manager at our local government, Athens Clarke County Unified Government. Got Kay Keller with the United Way. We have Sarah McKenney across the street at the Community Foundation. And this year we sat them down, or actually in 2021, we sat this group down. We told them about the 4 disciplines of execution and where we wanted to go with Get Comfortable in terms of having an impact area and having a more prolonged time frame that we're working and partnering with these agencies. And we said, all right, you guys, you're the experts in the room. We need an impact area. What if you had to look at Athens and all the myriad of needs that this community has, what would you say is the most pressing need? And when I say we put our advisory council through the ringer, like we put them through the ringer, there was a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of meetings, a lot of back and forth. And with that, we asked them the following questions. And the first 4, you'll see the first one, and I'll read them out. First one is, how many people will benefit? The next one is this area neglected? Also, what would have happened otherwise, and how easy will it be for us to make progress in this impact area? And those first 4 are from a book called Doing Good Better that Matt introduced us to by scholar William McCaskill. And that 5th question is something we kind of threw in there for our advisory council just to keep them on their toes. And that was, here at Creature, we really do want to make sure that our employees feel invested and involved in our community impact work. So we threw in that fifth question of how can Creatures give back? How can they be involved, and how can Creatures themselves give their time besides the company giving financially? And the area that checked all of those boxes became our impact area. And that impact area became very, very broadly youth development, but more specifically, third grade literacy here in Athens, Clarke County. And you might be asking yourself, okay, what is a brewery going to do with third grade literacy? Like, why was this the impact area? And really the data pointed us to that. We like to say we here at Creature try to remain as dispassionate as the data. And once we had the needs assessment priorities in front of us, as well as our county's 20-year strategic plan, third grade literacy rose to the top. And some of those reasons is third grade is really when students go from learning to read to reading to learn. Additionally, where it stands right now, only 20% of Clarke County third graders are reading at grade level. And that's something that we really cannot accept, and we really will not accept moving forward. So it's became our level of focus for the next 5 years. So once we had that impact area from our advisory council, we said, all right, we are definitely not the experts here. So we pulled even more experts around the table in the terms of a focus group. And I will say this group consisted of, I've got their names on the next slide. We had like 8 different employees from Clarke County School District, including the director of ELA K through 12 education, a lot of literacy experts, a lot of nonprofit executive directors, all attend this focus group meeting. And they told us that if we want to see the needle move on third grade literacy, then we need to be focused on the following 3 interventions. And that is first, mobilizing some non-CCSD volunteer support for one-on-one student instruction. Our teachers are strapped for time. They've been telling us that they are also coming back from 2 years of completely virtual learning. We need more folks, more one-on-one attention for some of these students in the classroom. That second level of intervention is the distribution of high interest books. Not only getting books in the classroom, but getting books home, getting books in community spaces, and also making sure that those books are books that kids want to read. And then that last intervention is really the promotion of intergenerational literacy, because we understand that learning doesn't just happen in the classroom, it also extends to the home as well. And this focus group told us that if we were to do a very dedicated and determined effort to all 3 of these intervention areas, we would be able to see the following result, which is to increase third grade literacy in Clarke County School District from 20%, where we currently stand, to 60% by 2027. Yes, so applause. But you're also probably thinking to yourselves, like, how on earth, like Creature Comfort, these people are crazy. Like, how do they think that they're going to do this by themselves? And the answer is we do not think we are going to do this by ourselves. We need all the partners. We need all the experts. We're really also going to be leaning on the business community, not only the businesses that are represented here today, but also outside of our walls as well. Because again, like I said earlier, we can't accept 20%. This is the future generation. These are the future leaders. These are the folks that we want to keep in Athens, Clarke County. So we need to invest in them. After we had that X to Y by when, we then sent out a request for proposals, which we like to call an RFP. And we sent out this request to the nonprofit community. And I will say this was probably the hardest and most difficult RFP we've ever put out. We requested a lot from the folks that submitted applications for funding, and a lot of situations, people and the folks and their teams that were submitting applications, this was brand new work. In several instances, they were proposing brand new programs. Like every agency who submitted an application, shout out to you, because I know it wasn't easy, and we also asked for a lot. But we had all of the RFPs out, we got back several proposals, and then we gathered another group of folks. You can tell that we really like to bring the experts in, and you'll see some overlap here with that focus group committee. But again, a lot of local rock stars, including the principal of HB Stroud Elementary School, Stacey Carson, who was speaking into this focus group. Yes, give Stacey a round of applause. She totally deserves it. Yes. But Stacy knows her kiddos very well, and what better person to be able to speak into this than a principal herself. So very grateful to have her voice at the table as well. So we tasked this selection committee with all of the different proposals that we had received and gave them another hard assignment and basically said, of all of these agencies, who is doing, whose proposal was the strongest, who is best fit for each of these intervention areas. From there, and this is kind of futuristic, we will then move into an implementation phase of this program where we will actually be implementing that 4DX, that organizational strategy, and begin to work very closely with the nonprofits that have been selected to do this work. And there it all is together. But I hinted at HB Stroud, and what we do understand here at Creature is that we need a pilot. We really can't implement something community-wide without having proof of concept. And really, we've identified HB Stroud not only because of the data, but also the wonderful willingness and support of Stacy and her team to allow us and a handful of agency partners to come into the school and to work with the kids there. So for year one, or the first academic year, which will be February 2022, kind of like March 2022, more on that to come, to May of 2023. So really trying to align this program with the school year so we can have a full year of results. And after year one, it is our hope that as we are reporting out and as we are sharing data and as we are having conversations with the business community, that we will be able to, one, have a very successful test case at HB Stroud and be able to show success there, that we would be able to then implement this community-wide at all 14 schools in Athens, Clarke County with the help of our business community. So you're probably asking yourselves, okay, well, where are you in the process? And that is a great question. So last week, we wrapped conversations with our selection committee. And again, these lovely experts. And again, their task was to review all of those different RFPs and to select the agencies best positioned in each of those 3 intervention areas to partner with. And I will say, we almost have our partners, and you're going to have to join us for another event on February 19th. This is brand new work for us, and we just really want to make sure that we're getting it right and wanted to make sure that a few more questions were answered before we made our public announcement. So that will all happen at a public event on February 19th, which leads me into this perfect segue of some upcoming events. If you're like me and you live by your Google Calendar, I have 2 different events that I want to put on your calendars. And that first one, because I'm already talking about February 19th, is an event called Songs for Humans. And this is going to be a chorus event really at the tap room. And in between the intermissions of that event, we will be hearing from the executive directors of our just announced Get Comfortable agency partners. And that will be great. And then going back on Tuesday, February 15th, just wanted to put this on your radar as well, that the Athens Chamber of Commerce, they are having their annual meeting on February 15th at noon. And that meeting, their keynote speaker will be Karen Vogelson from Arise to Read. And if you're unfamiliar with Arise to Read, this is a literacy program targeting 2nd graders that has had a lot of success in Memphis, Tennessee. And it's a program that we've really looked at and explored, and really a lot of the folks submitting proposals to also looked at and worked to improve and enhance that program to fit it to the Athens community. So Karen will be in town speaking at the 15th. So any businesses in the room, feel free to attend, others as well, to just hear how it's worked in Memphis and how the business community has really gotten involved in this impact area and what it could look like here in Athens. I would also be remiss if I didn't give a huge shout out to all of our business partners who have locked arms with us to date in 2022. This work would not be possible without all of you guys. And as you can see, we've always stressed that Get Comfortable is not just a Creature Comforts thing, it is a we thing, and that's really represented by all of the logos that are on the screen, all of these folks that make in and pour into this program. So thank you to our business partners. I will also say, yes, we love them, shout out. If you're interested in learning more, you can definitely check out getcurious.com, but I also put my email address as well as Matt and Fenwick's on here as well. We would be happy to connect, happy to answer any questions, happy to unpack the program, happy to speak with you about becoming a business partner, really happy in general to speak with you. So please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions. And for that is the end of our programming. But I will say, everyone has some Get Comfortable Cold IPA. Keep enjoying it, keep mingling, and thank you all for coming out. And thank you to Bells. Like this is great. Cheers.